Banjiva Korja. Hi, everybody. Eimear Burke here. Welcome to Tea with the Druid. I think this is 396, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, or if you're watching a recording of this tea. So, I was here a month ago, and now I'm here this time, and I think I'll be doing this every month, which is really, really nice. Let me see where people are from. Gloucester, Yarmouth, Maine, USA, Idaho, Derbyshire, Austria, lovely, Prince Edward Island, Finland, brilliant, California, Indiana, Ottawa. There's quite a lot of places. We had sunshine. It was a new experience after 2 months of rain. Well, we have had, at this point, I think 53 days of consecutive rain in Ireland since the 31st of December. So I look out on what it looks like Avalon. I look over a floodplain. Luckily, it's not near my house because I'm on a hill. So Newcastle, Missouri, the US, Boulder, Colorado, Wyoming, Ripon. I'm not too sure where Ripon is. West Sussex, North Carolina, lovely London. Oh, very nice. That's lovely. Somebody has a blizzard today. I don't know where that is. Beautiful. Great to see. Sherwood Forest, lovely. Ontario, Canada. Great. Anyway, greetings to you all from Kilkenny in Ireland. And I was walking in the woods today, and it was, as I was coming home, it was 13 degrees, which is amazingly warm for this time of year. Anyway, so what am I going to talk about today? I've been really, really challenged. I had a really, really big challenge to me and my druidry and my sense of myself as a druid, as a peacekeeper, as a peacemaker. This happened last week when I watched the film Palestine 36. I don't know if any of you've watched it. It's a harrowing film, a harrowing watch, but well worth watching. So it's set in Palestine, and it starts in March 1936. And that's the month my mother was born 90 years ago. And she's still here. She's still alive. And it's about how the settlers and the British just began to eat away at the land of the Palestinians in Palestine. And the violence and the oppression perpetrated upon them. And it was really, really heart-wrenching to watch it. And I made myself watch it, even though I tend not to watch violence on films. But I knew I had to watch this. And what was really hard was that I knew there wasn't going to be a resolution at the end. This was a 2-hour film. And I knew usually in films there's some kind of resolution, the baddies get their comeuppance or whatever. But I knew in this story it wasn't going to happen because it's still happening. And I found myself being really, really triggered because it brought to me what the British had done to us in Ireland. And one thing about my druidry was that joining Oba and becoming a druid within the order has healed the wound between Ireland and Britain for me. And then I watched this film and it takes me right back. And there you can see how rebels are created. So people begin to resist oppression when they find that diplomacy and talking and dialogue isn't working, and they take up arms. And there's one character in the film who has been asked by the rebels to join in the fight, and he goes, "No, I'm a peacekeeper, I'm not taking up arms." And then later on in the film, he is abused by the British soldiers, and then he becomes radicalized, and then he joins the rebels. And then there's another character who's an Orthodox Christian priest. And he and his son are coming back home along the way to their house, and they're stopped at a checkpoint of British soldiers who rob him of his money. And the little boy says, "Are you not going to fight?" And he goes, "No, we don't. We're peacekeepers. We're peace lovers. God will look after us," etc. And you could see the little boy looking at this. And then later on in the film, the man is taken by the British soldiers because he's trying to protect his son, and they put him in a truck that is later blown up by the British soldiers. And this little boy has acquired a gun. He's found it in a tree, and then he becomes radicalized. And there's a scene where he's shooting somebody, and he's only a child. And I'm watching this, and so angry and so raging. And I'm going, well, where's my nonviolence? Where is my peace? Because even if we take up arms in a struggle, violence only begets violence, And in the end, we still have to sit down and negotiate and talk. So I found it really, really challenging. So I'm going to tell you a story. And then, when we look at what's going on in the world, how the people are complicit with what's happening in so many places where land is being occupied and people's human rights have been taken, or where there's a genocide, and what have you. And then, Francesca Albanese has been sanctioned and she can no longer have access to money. And yet she has been sanctioned for speaking the truth, for doing her job. And it's great. I just saw that on social media that she's in Jordan today, that, she's indomitable, even though she's depending, we say, on the support and charities of other people who can actually give her cash. But she's standing up and she's not afraid. And then, the Reverend Jesse Jackson passed last week, well into his 80s. And he was a person who spoke out, and I'm sure at times not very popular. And he stood up for Palestine. Again, a person who was talking about truth and not colluding. And yet our governments and so many big players are doing this. So I'm going to tell you a story. King Cormac MacArt was considered maybe a quasi-historical character. He's there in the manuscripts and the texts, and that he was considered a very wise and good ruler, maybe Ireland's Solomon, for example. And there is a story that he's on Tara and he's this all is going well. He has everything he needs, but there's something missing in his life. And he hears this. I don't know if you can hear this. Let me know in the chat if you can hear this. Here's the sound. And as soon as he hears it, all his worries, all his anxiety, all his pain, all his tribulations, you hear it, brilliant, disappear. And he's thinking, what I wouldn't give to have that branch. And he sees that the source of the sound in my life, and he sees the source of it is a young man is coming across the plains of Tara carrying this branch. And it turns out this is Monaghan Maclir, which means the son of the sea. Lar is the Irish word for sea, and it's Lir is the genitive of Lar. A little bit of Irish grammar for you. Anyway. And he said, I'm amazed with your branch there. What would you give me? What can I give you for it? And he said, you can have it. And he said, no money. I'm very wealthy. No price is too big. And he says, I'll be back in a year and a day. And he comes back in a year and a day and he takes his son. And he says, you can't do that. And he said, well, you said I could have anything I want and I'm taking your son. He said, you can't take my son. What am I going to do without my son? And he said, you have the silver branch. And he shakes it. And his pain and sorrow is gone. And a year later he comes and he takes his daughter. And again he says, how can you take my daughter? You've taken my son. How can you take my daughter? And he said, I'd be brokenhearted. He says, will you have the silver branch? And he shakes the silver branch and all is well. And everybody's forgotten their pain. And then the next year he comes back again. And this time he takes Cormac MacArt's wife. And he said, you've taken my whole family. You cannot do this to me. What am I going to do without my family? They're my life. And Monaghan says, well, you have the silver branch. And he says, this time, I am not shaking that. I am not going to forget. Because what that was the branch of forgetfulness. We don't even have to engage in life when we just listen to this branch. So he carefully wraps it up and he follows Monaghan Maclir and his wife off to Tirnanog, through the Vale, to the other world, to the land of promise, the land of apples. And he's crossing the sea and he passes different islands, black and white horses and the Crystal Keep and the island of salmon and the island of women. And eventually he comes to land and he can see the boat of Monaghan pulled up onto the beach. And Cormac does the same. And he's following along a path and he comes to a well around which are 9 hazel trees and 5 streams. And this is the well of Shagash. And the 5 streams represent, well, in the text, the 5 rivers of Ireland. We have more than 5 rivers, but also the 5 senses through which we receive wisdom. And beside the well, he sees this cup, a four-sided cup. And he senses an invitation to dip the cup into the well of Shagash, and he drinks from it. And at that point, all that was unknown, all that he'd ever forgotten, comes back to him. And he continues walking until he comes to a big palisade, and a gate opens, and then he goes into this beautiful courtyard, and there is the goddess Anya, she the goddess of the sun and the moon. And sitting on a chair beside him is Malanan Maclair, and they say, welcome to the land of promise, King Cormac. And he is saying, I've come here, I've come for my family, I'm giving you this, handing them the silver branch, he said. Nothing is worth this. I have lost too much. And they said, fear not, this was a ruse to get you to come to us. And with that, a door opens from the longhouse, and who comes out? Only Corbra, Alva, and Etna, King Cormac's family. And there's a great reunion, and there's a big, big feast. And during the feast, Anya hands him the cup that was at the well of Shagash, and she said, take this, King Cormac. This is the cup of truth. And it is for you, for your lifetime. Remember, if 3 falsehoods are spoken over this cup, it will fall to pieces on the ground. However, if 3 truths are spoken over the shattered pieces, the fragments, it will become whole again. Remember this. And then they said, this is not only the branch of forgetfulness, it is also the branch of healing. So they had a great feast that night, and then they went to sleep. And when they woke up on the green area outside Tara. Cormac, Alva, Carbra, and his wife Ethna. And it is said that he ruled for a long time as a just king. And they say even today, if you're there and you can hear the breeze in the trees in Tara, sometimes you'll hear the silver branch on Crave Arrogate, the branch of healing. It is also a branch of forgetfulness, but it's also the branch of remembrance and healing. So, if we had our metaphorical four-sided cup of truth in the world today, it would be in bits because people are not standing up. So many lies. And all we need is for people to stand up and speak the truth, to allow that cup to become whole again. And it's not too late to speak the truth. It's not too late to allow those fragments come together. And I know there have been people, with influence or whatever, be they celebrity or politicians or leaders, speaking out now about what's going on in the world. And then they get criticized for speaking too late. It's too late. Why didn't you do it now? Why didn't you do it in the past? And I say, we shouldn't criticize those people. Allow them to speak now. Let them speak the truth and allow this cup to become whole once more. And this is also in our own lives where sometimes it's really hard to be honest with ourselves. And we can't be honest in the world until we can be honest with ourselves. So I invite you now, let's do a meditation. So that's right, Lloyd, it's never too late. So just see, I'd love to hear play the harp in the background. It's not in tune at the moment. Someday. Thank you, Eimear. I watched and honoured The Voice of Hind recently. I haven't seen it. So many people don't want to talk about what is happening. Somebody's from Kiev. How are you doing, Elena? I'm sure you're having your own troubles there. Shame is often the source of violence. Where the disrespect is so painful, it makes someone feel like they must regain their pride through some violent act. It really does function like a virus. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Someone says, you're so brave watching this. I could not. As an emotional person, I know that it takes a lot of strength and self-control to refuse to fight back. Well, I did. I was really upset. I was quite rattled for hours afterwards. And I'm really challenged. How do I keep my peace as a druid? So Elof says, I spent Saturday at a peacekeeper training day. So this is so on target for me. Brilliant. Anyway, we still have to, and I think it's understandable, to want to lash out in rage and anger. And it's justified anger. And of course, anger is a valid emotion. It's what you do with it. And if you have anger accompanied with hatred and contempt and indifference, then we have a different story. But we can always come back, and this is what I love, our peace prayer that brings us back to that center, to our own selves. So I'll just invite you now. Okay, Nimi says, in my experience, violence often is the act of cowards. I couldn't agree with you more. Anyway, so let us just invite you now to become comfortable in your seat. And if you like, close your eyes and just become aware of the floor beneath your feet and the ceiling above you and the walls around you. Just allowing your awareness of the computer in front of you just to fade, and just begin to focus on your breath. Following your in-breath as it enters your body, and following your out-breath as it leaves your body. Remember, with every in-breath, there are possibilities, and with every out-breath, there's a letting go of what no longer serves you. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And I'd like you to imagine that you are now on a green plain. And it's so lush and vibrant, the greenness, and it's a warm sunny day, and it's alive, and you hear this sound. A beautiful healing sound on Crave Arrogate calling you towards the forest that you can see ahead of you. And you see the trees on the outside of the forest. They're silver birch, beautiful, long, tall, elegant silver birch trees, protecting the oak and the ash within its embrace. And you listen to that sound and you begin to walk towards the edge of the forest. And then you notice, like a pathway, it's as if a doorway has opened in this group of birch trees. And you have that sense of an invitation to begin to walk along that path. And you sense your connection with the earth, with every footstep. You feel the earth beneath your feet, and you're aware of the trees around you and the sky above you. But with every in-breath, as you breathe in, as you walk slowly along that path, you draw up the energy of the earth up through the soles of your feet, up through your limbs, into your torso, filling your heart space, feeling it moving and swirling within your very being. With each footstep and with each breath, you're drawing up that beautiful earth energy into your being. And then you face the sky and you look up. And again, with a big breath, you draw down the sky energy down through to your crown chakra, into your head, into your body. Sensing it swirling around your very being, where it mixes with the energy of the earth. So you have a swirling energy and sky energy together, moving around your heart space, but expanding, filling every cell of your body, so that you're walking with the support and the magic of the energy of the earth and the energy of the sky within you and the energy of the trees around you. You continue walking until you come to a clearing. And you still hear that beautiful sound calling you, inviting you in. And in the center of that clearing, there is a well. And around that well are 9 hazel trees. And you see the 5 streams representing the 5 senses. This is the well of Shagash. Through our senses, we find wisdom, but we could take us back to the source of all wisdom. The well of the Shagash is where the hazel trees drop their nuts at Samhain into the well, and where the salmon of knowledge, the salmon of wisdom, comes and takes those kernels of wisdom to swim around the world sharing their knowledge. And as you come into the clearing, you see the well with the 9 hazel trees around them, and you stop, and then you become aware that you're actually standing in a circle of druids. They're there. You are part of this circle, part of a fellowship, part of a grove of like-minded souls, brothers and sisters, shared values. And you're standing in circle, and then you notice somebody entering the circle, and it is the goddess Bohan. The bowfin of the white cow, the goddess who gives her name to the river Boyne. And you feel her presence and her power and her strength. And you feel that beautiful love and peace filling the circle. And you watch as she goes up to the well of Shagash. And then you notice the 4-sided cup of truth. And you watch as she dips that 4-sided cup into the well of Shagash, filling it with that sacred water, that water of wisdom and that water of healing. And then you're aware that you are holding your own 4-sided cup of truth. And you look at it and you explore it, and on each side there is a symbol. And look on each side, look at what the symbol is. And reflect for a few moments, what that might mean. What does each symbol mean to you? How might it help you? As you hold your 4-sided cup of truth, Bohan, she moves around the circle, filling each of your cups from her own cup that she's taken from the well of Shagash. And she comes to you, and she looks you directly into your eye, and she smiles and nods to you, and you hold up your cup, and she fills yours. And you thank her, and she moves on to the next. And now all of you have your own 4-sided cup of truth filled with the water from the well of Shagash. And then with a signal from Bohan, she invites you all to drink of that cup. And as you drink the water from that cup, you feel yourself becoming whole and healed, and you begin to remember. But you also begin to find your own truth. How hard it can be to be honest with ourselves. We cannot be honest with ourselves. How can we be honest with others? But you're holding a solid cup. And you're going to ask the cup, how can you maintain this cup in its integrity? How can your cup of truth remain whole? How can you be honest with yourself and with the world? You take another sip, and with each sip that you take, more and more insights come to you. You may not understand what it is you're getting from the cup of truth, but it'll come to you at some point. what truth needs to be spoken. And when you've emptied the cup of the water from the well of Shagash, you hold it. You hold your cup to your heart space. And you take it in. Take it within, into your own heart space. You become one with that four-sided cup of truth, carrying the truth, your truth, within your very being. And now you watch as Boan looks each one of you in the eye and nods to you in goodbye, and you nod to her in thanks. And then she is gone. And as you stand in this clearing around the well of Shagash, with your four-sided cup of truth held deep within your heart space, you give thanks for all that you have received. And you know you can return there whenever you wish. And then you allow your awareness of your fellow druids to fade, and you are alone in the grove. Taking one more look at the well of Shagash and the 9 hazel trees and the 5 streams, you say goodbye. You turn back and you begin to walk along that path through the forest, carrying that cup of truth within your being, until you come out onto that green plain. You take one more look back at that forest, and again, it's as if there was never a doorway there. There was never a pathway. And you nod to the forest, and then you allow your awareness of the forest to fade, and your awareness of standing on that green plain to fade as you become more aware of yourself in your room, sitting in front of the screen, sitting on your chair with the floor beneath your feet, the ceiling above you, and the walls around you. And take a big, deep breath. You begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So I'd be interested if people could put in the chat just one word about how you're feeling after that exercise. Thank you for that beautiful journey. Nourished from Karen. Pensive, calm, solace, beautiful, some healing, remembrance, oneness, balanced, deep peace, light, beautiful, peaceful, strengthened, released, lovely, braver, new beginnings, the start of a journey. Calm, peace, not alone, restored, at ease, inspiration, grounded, pure, reflecting, positively challenged. I was picturing my 12-year-old self doing the actions. It was connective, infinite, love. Thank you, peace. I did also peacekeeper training recently. Centered, clarity, peaceful and calm, love. Beautiful. Infinite. Peace, settling, lovely. Clarity, more tuned into my center. Refreshed, exhausted. Sorry about that. Touched. Beautiful. So, thank you all for joining me this evening. Grateful. Beautiful. And thank you for your beautiful comments, and may peace be with all the victims of state-sanctioned violence in the US and the UK and around the world. Absolutely. I felt that in truth there is strength, but that truth is certainly not always easy. It is not. And neither is remembering. Peace within, released. Contemplative and wanting to know more about Irish deities. I think we're in a really challenging time at the moment, and I think meditations like this, standing in circle, in our grove, in solidarity, I think is really, really important to help us to speak the truth, to think it and look at it. So I thank you all until I'll be back in a month. So again, I wish you a good evening, and I wish you truth and peace wherever you are in the world. Yeah. What a gift, recovering from open heart surgery. Wow. Okay, bless you. A new tool for a difficult day. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Beautiful. For holding peace. Great. Anyway, I will see you again in a month's time. And those of you, I'll see you on the other side at Biscuits. So in the meantime, whether you're watching a recording of this or whether it's the morning, the afternoon, or this evening, I wish you all Iwa, agus bíri slán, agus I wish you all Banachtaí agus Síocháin, blessings and peace until we meet again. Slán go fóill.